Let's talk about college and politics and economics, because I did a story a couple of weeks ago about the future of the United States in the context of so many of our systems seeming completely unsustainable. And when I did that story a couple of weeks ago, we talked about inequality. We talked about the healthcare system, which causes countless medical bankruptcies every year. And we also talked about education, where we were seeing and we continue to see the cost of college rising dramatically. Wages are relatively stagnant, and this makes college both less affordable and also less of a good investment relative to the wages that one would expect. And that's what I want to dig into today. I want to ask you, might we be getting to the end of the college era, as we may end up calling it, this era where, of course, you have to go to college regardless of the cost to have a shot in the economy? I'll explain. We've already talked about how the exploding cost of college is far exceeding wage growth, and we are seeing more and more people saddled with student debt without an ability to ever pay it off because of the earnings of the jobs that that college degree ultimately lands them in. And if college costs continue going up, it's a foregone conclusion that fewer and fewer people will be able to afford it. And by that, I mean to be able to afford paying off their student loans with the wages they can expect to earn. I also said in our segment last week or the week before that in the interests of maintaining a profitable status quo for the establishment and for corporations and for political elites, every once in a while, a bone can be thrown at people to prevent them from really protesting to change the system. And that this is done to keep the system just barely sustainable, passably sustainable, so that the perpetual status quo remains. And interestingly enough, the premium in terms of net worth for college graduates over non-college graduates is very quickly shrinking. Now, I want to be clear here because this is important. There is a huge advantage in terms of income for those with college degrees over those without college degrees. But the advantage in net worth has been shrinking over time. And part of the reason is that with stagnant wages, with people who go to college having to pay off the student debt, when the money goes off to pay loans and student loan interest rather than building your net worth, it has a vicious cycle where you earn higher wages, but more of the wages go to paying off student loans. Because of the student loans, you end up having to charge a lot of your day-to-day expenses to a credit card, which means you're paying even more interest, which further restricts your net worth. So you make significantly more money with a college degree, but the premium in terms of the effect on your net worth is becoming smaller and smaller. Now, in addition to this, we've also talked about the political component to the whole college space right now, which is that convenient for the American right, they have been to some degree successfully pushing the idea that college is merely liberal indoctrination, colleges restrict conservative speech, and this has been priming a lot of conservatives to already be skeptical of college. So we may actually see a movement away from the requirement of a college degree for more and more jobs. That could reinforce a move away from people going to college in the first place. And in fact, there are lots of companies, even some financial companies, where more and more positions don't require a college degree. So what's going to happen? The left has to be careful, because if as a society we move away from college education as a requirement for jobs, if the economy can't support the student debt, if college makes less sense over time because of what it costs, that's one thing. But remember that Republican talking points work way better on the uneducated. So if there is indeed a move away from college education, it could be very, very bad for the American left, since we know that on balance, the more educated someone is, the more likely they are to vote for a more progressive candidate. So I want to hear from you about this. Get in touch. What do you think will eventually happen with the cost of college? Are we potentially starting to see a move away from the college era, to call it something? And what do you predict as the political future if there is this move away from college? Let me know, including via voicemail, which is where we are going next. I know that the David Pakman Show audience is full of curious and creative people who love learning new things and bettering themselves. And that's why I'm so excited to tell you about one of our sponsors, Skillshare, the vibrant online learning community that offers thousands of classes on almost any topic you can imagine, and you'll get full access to the entire library of classes for 2 entire months free when you go to davidpakman.com/skill. All of the classes are taught by experts in their fields. They've got classes on drawing, painting, photography, video editing, web design, bookkeeping, marketing, personal productivity. Doesn't even scratch the surface. I recently took a class about photography. If anybody follows me on Instagram, you know that my photography skills leave much to be desired. And it was great. I got so much out of it. And hopefully you will see the fruits of me taking that class reflected in my Instagram pictures sooner than later. They have classes for every skill level, whether you're wanting to get better at something you already have experience with, you want to learn something totally new to you. You set your own pace. Classes are usually less than an hour long. They're divided up into bite-sized segments so you can easily fit them into your schedule. Make 2020 a year where you explore new skills, deepen existing passions, get lost in creativity. Skillshare really makes it easier than ever. Skillshare memberships are less than $10 a month, and that gives you access to the thousands of classes they offer. But everybody in the David Pakman Show audience gets a Skillshare membership totally free for 2 whole months. Just go to davidpakman.com/skill. That's davidpakman.com/SKILL.